IAEA says Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant begins receiving power from national grid once again. The development comes almost 2 weeks after the nuclear facility was cut off from the national grid. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accuses Russia, says new evidence of torture found in EAM mass grave. Russian forces conduct fresh strikes in Kherson, Mykolaiv, Kharkiv and Donetsk regions. Russian ministry says Ukrainian forces have carried out an unsuccessful offensive near Pravdin in Kherson. Ukraine's infrastructure ministry says the third vessel chartered by the United Nations World Food Programme left Ukraine's Chornomorsk Black Sea port with around 30,000 tons of wheat on board. The ministry said the vessel is headed for Ethiopia, as Ethiopia is on the verge of a food crisis. External Affairs Minister Dr S Jaishankar to embark on a 11-day visit to the US to attend the 77th session of the UN General Assembly. The minister to also participate in several plurilateral and trilateral meetings and also host the ministerial meeting of the G4 grouping. World's largest coastal cleanup campaign culminates in Mumbai on the occasion of International Coastal Cleanup Day. Union Minister of State for Science and Technology Dr Jaishankar says India's 7,500 kilometers long coastline will play a vital role in shaping up India's vision. In sports, in Chennai Open, women's singles, Czech teenager Linda Fruhvirtova rallied from a set down to beat Argentina's Nadia Podoroska to reach her maiden WTA Tour event final. She will take on Magda Linette in the summit clash today. Good morning. You're watching DD India and I'm Preeti presenting this edition of the news. Our top story first. Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is once again receiving electricity directly from the national grid after engineers repaired one of the 4 main external power lines. All the power lines were damaged during the conflict, with the last operating reactor shut down on 11th of September. Even though the 6 reactors at Zaporizhzhia, that is Europe's biggest nuclear power plant, have been shut down, the fuel in them still needs cooling to avoid a potentially catastrophic meltdown. The plant therefore needs electricity to pump water through the reactor's core. The IAEA says the situation of the plant has improved but remains precarious. Also, the plant is held by Russian forces but continues to be operated by Ukrainian personnel. A secure off-site power supply from the grid and backup power supply systems are essential for ensuring nuclear safety and preventing a nuclear accident even when the reactors are no longer operating. This requirement is among the 7 indispensable nuclear safety and security pillars that IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi outlined at the beginning of the conflict. To help stabilize the situation, the Director General has initiated consultations with the relevant parties aimed at urgent establishment of a nuclear safety and security protection zone at the plant. Earlier this month, he established a continuous IAEA presence at the plant after leading a team of experts to the site. Also, we get you updates from the war zone in Ukraine now. Days after the revelation of the mass graves in the recaptured town of Izium, Ukrainian emergency workers continue to dig more bodies from a wooded burial site. Earlier, Ukraine claimed hundreds of people are buried at the site in the retaken town, including 17 Ukrainian servicemen. Similar mass graves of Ukrainian soldiers and civilians were discovered in Bucha and Mariupol as well. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky has blamed Russian forces of torturing civilians to death in Izium. As Ukraine examines the bodies recovered in Izium, Zelensky says that new evidence was found in the region proving that people buried at the site of mass grave were tortured. During his nightly address, Ukraine's president informed that more than 10 More than 10 torture chambers were discovered in the various cities and also towns recaptured from Russian forces in Kharkiv region.
Exhumation works continued in EAM Kharkiv region. At the located mass burial site, examinations of the bodies are being conducted. New evidence of the torture used against the people buried there has been found. In liberated areas of Kharkiv region, there have been more than 10 torture chambers found in various cities and towns.
And months after Finland and Sweden signed accession protocols with NATO, the chair of NATO Military Committee, Admiral Rob Bohr, said that the accession of the two countries would benefit the alliance, creating another border with Russia. He said that Finland and Sweden will enhance the security of the Baltic Sea region and also strengthen the alliance as a whole. He also pledged support for Ukraine's continuing land war against Russian forces.
News for NATO is that we get extra territory to defend as an alliance, and we get a long border with Russia. But we get also Finland and Sweden's armed forces that are very capable to help us to defend that extra territory and to defend that longer border. Russia will have a longer border with NATO without getting extra troops. So I think the accession of Finland and Sweden is beneficial for the alliance and is creating more of a problem for Russia, actually. Although we are not attacking Russia, we are a defensive alliance and we have no intentions whatsoever to attack Russia.
Ukraine's infrastructure ministry informed a ship carrying around 30,000 tons of wheat has left the country's Chornomorsk Black Sea port for Ethiopia. The ministry released video on Saturday showing grain being loaded on the Ikaria Angel ship. According to Ukraine's infrastructure ministry, the ship is a third vessel chartered by the United Nations World Food Programme. 3 Black Sea ports were unblocked at the end of July under a deal between Moscow and Kiev, brokered by the United Nations and Turkey. Eritrea is mobilizing armed forces due to the re-eruption of the conflict in northern Ethiopia. The development has raised fears that the fighting may intensify in a war that has already displaced millions and triggered a humanitarian disaster across northern Ethiopia. Getachew Reda, a spokesman for the Tigray People's Liberation Front, which controls Ethiopia's northern region of Tigray, said in a tweet on Saturday that Eritrea was calling up 60-year-old reservists to fight. Eritrea and Ethiopia fought a border war from 1998 to 2000. At the time, the Ethiopian government was dominated by the TPLF. Eritrea and the TPLF remain arch enemies. In 2018, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came to power and also signed a peace deal with Eritrea, an act that won him the Nobel Peace Prize. But relations between Abiy and the TPLF quickly soured. Abiy's government accuses the TPLF of trying to reassert Tigrayan dominance over Ethiopia, while the TPLF accuses Abiy of over-centralizing power and oppressing the Tigrayans. Each side rejects the other's narrative. Queen Elizabeth's funeral will take place in London on 19th of September. A host of world leaders, royalty and dignitaries will attend. Rehearsals for the state funeral procession at Windsor took place early on Saturday. US President Joe Biden, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese of Australia, the Emperor and Empress of Japan and President Draupadi Murmu of India are all set to attend the funeral.
World leaders have begun gathering in London from Saturday for the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. Police are mounting Britain's biggest ever security operation for Monday's funeral, as hundreds of dignitaries, including US President Joe Biden, are set to jet in. The state funeral, to be attended by nearly 100 presidents and heads of government, is likely to be one of the biggest ceremonial events ever held in Britain. King Charles will hold an official state event on Sunday to meet the dignitaries who will attend the funeral. Rehearsals for the state funeral procession at Windsor took place overnight early on Saturday. The Queen's funeral will be one of the grandest ceremonies ever seen in the British capital, involving thousands from the military and with details overseen by the monarch before her death. As preparation for the Queen's funeral is gaining pace, delegations from around the world have started arriving in London ahead of the state funeral on Monday. Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese joined thousands of members of the public filing past the coffin of Queen Elizabeth II on Saturday. The Australian Prime Minister Albanese, with his partner Jodie Hayden, were joined by Australia's Governor-General David Hurley and his wife as they viewed the Queen's lying in state. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also joined thousands of members of the public filing past the coffin of the late Queen on Saturday. Trudeau and his wife, Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, paused for a moment before the coffin, and the Canadian Prime Minister bowed his head. In addition to her British title, Queen Elizabeth was also the monarch of Canada. From India, President Draupadi Murmu will attend the funeral of the late Queen in UK. Meanwhile, mourners continued their solemn march to see Queen Elizabeth lying in state in London on Saturday morning despite long waiting time and chilly conditions. Well-wishers greeted King Charles and Prince William on Saturday as they visited people queuing up on the south bank of the River Thames in central London to file past the coffin of the late Queen. To cheers and shouts of God Save the King, Charles walked alongside part of the queue for the Queen's lying in state, followed by his son and heir, Prince William. The wait time in the queue has jumped up to 24 hours at times since Friday, while overnight temperatures plummeted to 7 degrees Celsius.
The atmosphere's been great.
Atmosphere's lovely.
Yeah.
We've met lovely people. It's been a little bit chilly at times. Got a bit cold, but not as bad as I thought it could be. But we had lots of layers. Yeah, plenty of layers. So it's been nice. It's been a nice atmosphere.
Seen some really lovely things. Like there was a bit where they were going to say there was a section where in the queue where they were going to let people with medals, people in military kind of cut. And this guy was like, no, I don't want to, and he's kind of stayed the whole course. And it's like such a lovely little moment. So.
Yeah, he could have taken, but he didn't want to. He wanted to keep going.
I felt compelled to be here, just had to be here. She served so faithfully for 70 years. And so having to stand in line in a queue for likely 14 hours, really not that much, in comparison to what she did for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The lying in state will end early on Monday, and the coffin will be carried onto the state gun carriage of the Royal Navy, where 142 naval service personnel will pull it to Westminster Abbey, the same church where Elizabeth was crowned in 1953. The body will then be taken on a gun carriage in a large procession, with King Charles III and other royals walking behind, to the Wellington Arch at Hyde Park Corner. Guns will fire and Parliament's Big Ben bell will toll every minute. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Up next, waiting for a short break. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a bit. Welcome back after the break. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday launched the National Logistics Policy in New Delhi. Speaking on the occasion, the Prime Minister called it a significant step towards making India a developed country. He said that in India, which has become the 5th largest economy in the world, things are changing rapidly. Referring to the morning's release of the cheetahs. The Prime Minister said that everybody wants that luggage should move quickly like a cheetah. He also said that policy is just the beginning. Policy plus performance is equal to progress.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday launched the National Logistics Policy, which aims to improve competitiveness of Indian goods, enhancing economic growth and increasing employment opportunities. Prime Minister called the launch of the National Logistics Policy a significant step in fulfilling the plan of India being a developed country. Prime Minister noted that in India, which has become the 5th largest economy in the world, things are changing rapidly. Prime Minister said the National Logistics Policy will bring new energy to all the sectors. He said that policy is a beginning and policy plus performance is equal to progress.
Last mile delivery तेजी से हो, ट्रांसपोर्ट से जुड़ी चुनौतियां समाप्त हो, हमारे मैन्युफैक्चरर्स का, हमारे उद्योगों का समय और पैसा दोनों बचे। उसी प्रकार से हमारा जो एग्रो प्रोडक्ट है, विलंब के कारण उसकी जो बर्बादी होती है, उससे हम कैसे मुक्ति प्राप्त करें, इन सारे विषयों का समाधान खोजने का एक निरंतर प्रयास चला है और उसी का एक स्वरूप है आज नेशनल लॉजिस्टिक पॉलिसी।
He also underlined the importance of a unified tax system like GST in smoothing the issues of the logistics sector. Prime Minister said that from 13 to 14% logistics cost, we should all aim to bring it to single digit as soon as possible.
13-14% की लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट के लेवल को हमें जल्द से जल्द हम सब ने मिल करके उसको सिंगल डिजिट में लाने का लक्ष्य रखना ही चाहिए। अगर हमें ग्लोबली कॉम्पिटिटिव होना है तो ये एक प्रकार से लो हैंगिंग फ्रूट है जी। हमारे एफर्ट्स मात्र से, एफिशिएंसी मात्र से, कुछ नियमों का पालन करने मात्र से हम 13-14% से सिंगल डिजिट में आ सकते हैं जी।
The Prime Minister pointed out that the total capacity of Indian ports has increased significantly and the average turnaround time of container vessels has come down from 44 hours to 26 hours.
डेडिकेटेड फ्रेट कॉरिडोर, उस काम में अभूतपूर्व तेजी लाने का हमने प्रयास किया है। आज भारतीय पोर्ट्स की टोटल कैपेसिटी में काफी वृद्धि हुई है। कंटेनर वेसल का औसत टर्न अराउंड 44 आवर 44 घंटे से अब वो घट करके 26 घंटे पर आया गया है। वाटरवेज के जरिए हम इको फ्रेंडली और कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कर पाए, इसके लिए देश में अनेकों नए वाटरवेज भी बनाए जा रहे हैं। एक्सपोर्ट में मदद मिले, इसके लिए देश में करीब 40 एयर कार्गो टर्मिनल्स भी बनाए गए हैं।
Stressing the need to adopt technology to strengthen the logistics sector, the Prime Minister said that the government has worked towards initiatives like paperless EXIM trade process through e-Sanchit, faceless assessment for customs, provisions for e-way bills, FASTag, etc. that have greatly increased the efficiency of the logistics sector. The policy is aimed at promoting seamless movement of goods and enhancing the competitiveness of the industry. Its main focus lies on areas such as process re-engineering, digitization and multi-modal transport. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
External Affairs Minister Dr S. Jaishankar will begin his 11-day visit to the United States from today. During his stay, the minister will lead an Indian delegation to the high-level week at the 77th session of the UNGA. The theme of the 77th UNGA is a watershed moment, transformative solutions to interlocking challenges. Now, this is in keeping with India's strong commitment to reform multilateralism. Minister Jaishankar will host a ministerial meeting of the G4 comprising of India, Brazil, Japan and Germany. He will also take part in the high-level meeting of the L69 group on reinvigorating multilateralism and achieving comprehensive reform of the UN Security Council. The L69 group consists of developing countries from Asia, Africa, Latin America, Caribbean and small island developing states. It focuses on reforms of the UN Security Council, also to commemorate and showcase the 75th anniversary celebrations of India's independence. The minister would address a special event titled India at 75, showcasing India-UN partnership in action, and this will take place on 24th of September. It would also highlight India's development journey and its contributions to South-South cooperation. The event is expected to be addressed by the President of 77th UNGA, foreign ministers of UN member states, and also the UNDP administrator. Dr S. Jaishankar would also take part in the meetings such as the Quad, IBSA and BRICS, also the India Presidency pro tempore of CELAC, India CARICOM and other trilateral formats such as India-France-Australia, India-France-UAE and India-Indonesia-Australia. He will also hold bilateral meetings with foreign ministers of the G20 and UNSC members, among others. The minister's address at the high-level session of the 77th UNGA is scheduled in the forenoon of 24th September. He will also meet UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and also the 77th PGA Zaba Korosi. The minister will visit Washington, D.C. from 25th to 28th of September for meetings with his U.S. interlocutors. His program includes talks with his counterpart Antony Blinken, senior members of the U.S. government, U.S. business leaders, a roundtable focused on science and technology, and also interaction with the Indian diaspora. Union Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal will begin his two-day visit to Saudi Arabia from today. He will co-chair the inaugural ministerial meeting of the Economic and Investments Committee with the Minister of Energy of Saudi Arabia, Prince Abdul Aziz bin Salman. The two ministers are expected to discuss the progress made under various joint working groups of the Economic and Investment Committee. Both sides are expected to formulate plan of action for further strengthening the bilateral cooperation in a wide area of priority areas and also projects, including the West Coast Refinery Project, Trans-Ocean Grid Connectivity, Green Hydrogen, Food Security, Energy Security and Pharmaceuticals, among others. This ministerial committee is one of the two ministerial verticals established under the framework of India-Saudi Arabia Strategic Partnership Council, which is headed at the highest level by Prime Minister of India and Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Up next, we're heading for another short break. Stay with us. Welcome back after the break. Let's get to sports updates now. Two prominent Indian Super League outfits, Bengaluru FC and Mumbai City FC, will be battling it out for the first crown of the new football calendar when they meet in the final of the 131st Durand Cup under lights in Kolkata today. Mumbai City FC, the winner of both the ISL title and the league winner's shield in the 2020-21 season, has gradually warmed up to its current form, which saw it overcoming the local favourites Mohammedan Sporting SC in the semi-finals. Bengaluru, which outplayed the reigning ISL champion Hyderabad in the semi-finals, is also high on confidence with its attacking pair of Sunil Chetri and Roy Krishna showing good form in the attacking third. Indian star wrestler Bajrang Punia lost in the quarterfinals of the Wrestling World Championships on Saturday but returned into medal contention. He entered the repechage round of the 65 kg category. Bajrang, a two-time Commonwealth Games champion, lost to US's 23-year-old Yianni Diakomihots in the 65 kg quarterfinal bout. He suffered the defeat by 10-0 due to technical superiority. However, the 28-year-old became active again as he entered the repechage round after his opponent reached the final. Bajrang will take on the winner of the bout between Vazgen Tavanyan of Armenia and Bulgaria's Vladimir Dubov in his first repechage bout today. That's it in this edition of the news. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.